Hiya guys, Crazy Teacher Nick coming at you again. It's a bit late, so I might be a bit tired, so work with me, but I want to get this video out to you guys. So I was talking to you guys in one of the previous videos about all of the key conventions. I have made many videos on the different key conventions for each of these. This video hopefully is nice and short. But I just wanted to shoot through all of the different things to think about. I want to say thank you very much to one of my students who actually helped me with some of this. So you know who you are, you rock. Okay, so blogs. Obviously this is a very versatile text type, comes up a lot in the exams, and the reason it's so versatile is because it can fit pretty much many of the different text types. When I say that, it means that you can basically have different types of blogs. So you can have advisory blogs, selling blogs, so very persuasive. It could be a very specific audience, or it could have a very wide audience, and it's very much about sharing experiences. Blogs pretty much like YouTube, I suppose now, except that it was written. It would have images, but obviously in the exams you're not going to see any images, and you can't create any images. You don't have time, no matter how wonderfully artistic you are. It's a good idea to create a hyperlink because it's something that will normally appear on a website. It might use technical lexis, it might use jargon targeted to that specific targeted audience. So keep that in mind. Don't forget your structural devices, catchy headlines, subheadings, bullet points, all available to you. And normally they're going to be very informal, chatty, and directly addressing that audience. Autobiographies, I've got a video on this. Remember, usually in the first person, focus on those key dates, facts related to the author's life. Records things like anecdotes and formative experiences, things that have happened in their life that are important. So there's significant settings, there's significant moments in their life. Check out my video on autobiographies and it'll help you. Biographies, so this is written about a person. So these are going to be authored by a different person. Normally going to be written in the third person perspective. They can be biased. The biography is either going to be authorized or unauthorized, and authorized means that the person that you're writing the biography about, so very similar to the autobiography except somebody else writes it about you. Authorized, you agree to it. Unauthorized, you don't agree to it. So obviously keep your ideas on your audience. Watch those paragraph structures. It's going to be based on facts and anecdotes, not necessarily just of the person that the biography is about, but by other people. And it's really the purpose is mainly just to educate the reader, about the individual person, their life, and things like that. Journals and diaries, again, they can come up. Normally going to be written in the first person, mainly going to be written in the past tense. Okay, there might possibly be some present tense to describe those feelings in the moment. Normally going to be written chronologically. Journals might have a timestamp. Diaries will include that salutation, and depends on who's writing it. It really is a choice, but I always suggest to my students, if it's a diary, start out with Dear Diary, keep it safe, and if it's a journal, just have a date, pretty safe. Diaries are entirely personal, and this is why I've got this little section up at the top here. It's reflective writing, so it's my thoughts, my feelings, my ideas. And journals can have, so some people can write their journals for like a wider audience, okay, but normally they're going to be very reflective, my thoughts, my feelings. Diaries are more private, journals maybe not so much. Interviews, okay. I don't think I've ever seen an interview, except maybe in a text, ever come up as a text type. You guys would have done this at GCSEs. You've got nothing to stress, but it's always good just to be reminded. Written in the first person. So they'll normally be in the past tense because, you know, what did you do last week? What did you do last month? What did you do when this happened? So it'll be in the past tense. Formality, it depends on what it's about. You know, it depends on, and I mean, you guys should know your formalities, how to decide how formal to be in your writing. It'll include a mixture of facts, opinions, feelings, intentions, and it's going to have that shape like a play or a script. Okay, if you're unsure, go back to your notes from your GCSEs. The interviewer will ask one question at a time, and then the interviewee will then obviously give a more developed response that's obviously focused on that question. But as I say, it's not something that I see coming up very often. Podcasts, though, do come up. Podcasts, very similar to your interviews in shape and style. Podcasts can be two people having a conversation, could also be one person. Podcasts are kind of a mixture. So, you know, if it's kind of two people like talking to each other in like an interview fashion, then that's why I've slotted it together with interviews. If it's just one person that is basically speaking, they're going to show that they're an authority on a topic. There's the one paper where basically it's a doctor talking about some new medical thing. Okay, so it's going to be informative, or it could be discursive, or it could even be persuasive, which is one of the examples. It'll provide information for the non-expert, but it depends. If the podcast is aimed at, for example, at directly at, say, doctors, then it might use some of that jargon that doctors use. So again, podcasts have got some of that blog mixture in with this. It's got the interview mixed in with this. It'll be first person. If it's one person speaking, it might be quite personal, or if it's two people, it'll be conversational. And you definitely will have those ums and ahs and things placed into your text. Letters, again, more GCSEs may come up. The main things you need to remember: appropriate salutation, so your dear sir or dear editor or dear Mr. Gur or dear mum and dad. Make sure that you state the purpose of your letter in the opening paragraph. Okay, I mean your register is going to be really important here, depending on who you are writing to. So mum and dad might be more informal. Somebody that you know, like dear Mr. Gur, that might be friendly but semi-formal. Obviously, dear sir and dear editor, that might be a little bit more formal, again depending on what the question asks. And guys, I can't say that enough. Read the question and allow the question to guide you. Your exams, doesn't matter what subject you're doing, those questions have been designed to help you get the answer right. Sign off. Now, I tell my students in that you only have 3. Whether it's GCSE or AS level, you only have 3. Yours faithfully, if you don't know the person, so like dear sir or dear editor. Yours sincerely, if you know the person, it's a little bit more formal. And if you're writing to your mum and dad, or maybe your best friend, you're going to end it with love, and that's fully acceptable. Sometimes when it's with friends, depending on the characters, you could end with writing to a friend, yours sincerely. Speeches. Going into your speeches, know you're a right forest, okay? You're a right forest technique. So all of your persuasive language devices, they don't just have to be used as a persuasive device. They're normally going to be used in speeches. So know your persuasive language devices. Okay, if you're looking for a ripe forest or any of those persuasive devices, Teacher Adna on Angular, and she's got some of the most amazing videos, short little videos, all on the persuasive language devices. I'd go check them out if I were you. Speeches, always be compelling, normally going to be to inform, sometimes to be to persuade, and may even be discursive at times. Have that powerful opening, use rhetorical devices, use anecdotes, use interesting openings, because you've got to really imagine you're talking to people, so you've got to grab their attention from the beginning. Use discourse markers, have a powerful conclusion, use that range of rhetorical devices, a ripe forest, facts, statistics, anecdotes, expert opinion, and engage with your audience all the time. So, you know, we are here, you know, you are important. I think I've done a video on speeches. Go check out the channel. Okay, news reports. So I kind of done news reports, magazine articles, and formal reports kind of on separate slides. But these 3 slides, they're interchangeable in a lot of the ideas. So news reports, 5 W's: who, what, why, when, and. Who, what, why, when, and. Okay, how, or 5 W's. Develop the detail, may have to give some background information, definitely include some direct and indirect speech. So Mr. Jones said, you know, I'm so happy to be talking to. And then Mrs. Crackers, it's because I got crackers on the table here. Mrs. Crackers, she said when she was asked, you know, how did you do that? She replied that, so that's your indirect speech. Okay. News reports can be impersonal, detached. Sometimes it can also be personal, it depends. Shorter paragraphs, so that it's bite-sized, easy for your reader to understand the information, but just normal paragraph rules and that apply. Okay, so it doesn't mean that every paragraph has to be short. Remember, create effects with your writing. Even your paragraphs, create effects with those. It'll explore newsworthy or topical issues, maybe argumentative, maybe discursive, maybe persuasive. The formality, it depends again on the topic. Read the question, allow the question to guide you. I should actually do a video on how to decipher those questions. Okay, magazine articles, obviously exploratory in nature, demonstrate an understanding or an authority about the topic, give background information for the non-expert, usually written in the present tense. I may use past tense for background information, future tense to like say what might happen in the future, usually written in first person, can be less personal, might be a little bit more informal, a little bit chatty. Again, it depends on the topic, depends on the audience. So keep that in mind. Formal reports are very straightforward, and there's a lot of opportunity to use structural devices, but not a lot of opportunities to use those real language devices, except maybe for some persuasive devices if possible. But normally it is very formal in its tone. There's no figurative language. It's very factual. It's very concise in its details. It's precise. It's direct. If I see it appearing anywhere in the exam paper, if it ever came up, it could be in your paper 1, question 1A, but it's not one of those texts that lends itself to allowing students to show off their ability to use structural devices and language devices. So, you know, there may be quotations from the participants, or there might be surveys. It's probably going to be structured chronologically or by the subject matter and how the information is being shared. And it might be some sort of investigation or a survey or an experiment. So that's why I say I don't see this really being a popular, but we've got to be prepared for everything, which is why this video is like going a little bit woo. Okay, advertisements come up it came up in the last couple of exams, and that advertisements are great because you can use a lot of devices. Okay, you've got figurative language, you've got structural devices, you've got language devices. So there might be a lot of those persuasive, there has to be because you're selling something, so there's going to be a lot of persuasive devices. Use them for effect. Okay, they're going to have a strong single point of view, so this is what you're selling. Don't waffle about, be precise, be direct. Make sure that you're always making the text about the device, engaging with your reader. Direct address to the reader or the listener if you're having to do some sort of a spoken kind of persuasive or promotional type of thing. Highly charged language, so things like your imperatives. Vivid imagery or descriptives, so figurative language, similes, metaphors, those things you can use. Use them for effect. Varied sentence structures, please, please, please. Sentence structures, paragraph structures for impact or to elaborate. All your texts, keep them in mind. Just like you learnt in your GCSEs. Rhetorical devices, obviously, you can use headings, captions, slogans, and you may include like some sort of a call to action, like get it now or buy 2 and get 6 free or whatever it is. It's probably bad for business doing that. Okay, so the pathos, logos, and ethos, you can comment on it if you're doing analysis, but it's not really something that you would put into an advertisement. So from those strategy types of things. Okay, brochures and leaflets, I combine these two together because again they kind of knit a little bit together. So pamphlets, they're going to be intended for like a free publication. It'll have a name, a logo, a slogan, an enticing cover. It'll have its main text. It'll have things like contact information. Whereas leaflets as well, again, it'll be a folded single sheet of paper. It can be informative. It can be promotional. Again, that name, that logo, that slogan, an enticing cover, interesting text, and some contact information. And I got an example here for you. And I do have this in one of my videos, but just to give you an all-round quick idea, things that you can do with pamphlets or brochures if they come up. They're normally going to be in your shorter writing tasks. Okay, so you've got subheadings, main headings, short paragraphs, longer paragraphs, interesting language, descriptive language, lots and lots of good use of punctuation. Guys, in your exams, please make sure, no matter what you're writing, that you're going to use a semicolon, or a colon, and please make sure you're using those commas properly. Okay, that is a big thing. Okay, so pamphlets and brochures kind of look something like this. Normally shorter writing, normally. Okay, travelogues, again, these come up. They can be on blogs. They can, but even if it comes up as a travelogue itself, okay, it's got a mixture almost of like a diary. It's almost like a journal, but it's about travel. So you've got to make it very, very interesting because people are going to want to read it. So it's going to be anecdotal writing. This is what I was doing when I was here. This is what I saw. This is what I thought. This is what I felt. Its purpose is mainly to inform or inspire people to travel or expose things that they've seen while they've been traveling. Normally going to be written in the first person. Going to be generally informal, depending, but 99% of the time it'll be informal, chatty, personal. Be very descriptive, okay? Very descriptive, figurative language, lots of good, strong adjectives. It's going to be from the writer's unique perspective, and the more unique you make it, the more interesting it is. So really put yourself in the shoes of the writer in how they are viewing things. You may give travel tips. You definitely want to be very relatable to your audience. Okay. Websites, again, we get a lot of these texts that have to be on websites. So, you're not going to create a navigation menu, but you're definitely going to have very interesting headings, subheadings. Think about it for yourself. You guys look at websites all the time. which are the websites that grab your attention? What are they doing? It's the heading, the subheading. Of course, there's going to be images. You don't have to worry about that. You know, they can share experience. They can be for a specific audience or not for a specific audience. They can be used for advice, to inform, to persuade. I've spoken about the images. You can create a hyperlink of your own, http / crazyteachernick.com. There's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, you won't be able to create a real hyperlink. You may use technical lexis, or you might have jargon that's targeted to a specific audience, and please, that heading, okay, make it interesting, make it funky, again, depending on your audience. Okay, narratives, they don't come up very often in the exams. They're very, very strict on students writing their narratives. So there are lots of rules that you've got to apply to narrative writing. And I'm going to do a video just on narrative writing, just to remind you guys of what you need to do. There's so many things that I need to do, but hopefully with the break coming up, I'll get some time. You must have a plot, okay? So, and I use the words beginning, middle, and end, but be careful about starting your stories with the I woke up, okay? Rather start in the action. I always say to my students, every story we get is, I woke up, the sun was streaming through the window, and then I walked into the bathroom, and then I brushed my teeth, and then I went downstairs, and then I had breakfast, and then I left the house. And then I waited for the bus, and then the bus didn't arrive, and I was late. Okay? You want to start your story then. I was on the bus, and the bus was driving down the road, the brakes had gone, and I was about to crash into a mountain. Start there. That's where it's interesting. Don't do any of these, I woke up. Don't ever let your character wake up, and please, heavens to Betsy's, never let your character dream. You know, I went to sleep, and when I woke, I was dreaming, and no dream scenes. I went to sleep, I was dreaming, I was eating this giant marshmallow. When I woke up, my marshmallow was gone. None of that, okay? Characterization. So you need to create strong characters. Choose two. You're going to have, okay, I have got it there. You're going to use dialogue. You must use dialogue, but obviously not like every single thing. Make your dialogue 2 or 3 things, make it interesting, but they must support developing who the characters are or develop the story in some way. Okay, so it must, the dialogue must do something. Don't do this, hi, hello, how are you? I'm fine, how are you? The dialogue must basically show the personality, okay? Or basically drive the story in a specific direction. 2 settings at the very most. Do not do more than 2 settings, because you must describe that setting. That's where that descriptive language comes in. Characterization and settings. Vivid description. So you've got to be, you know, all your skills that you learned in descriptive writing, you're going to use here in your narrative or your story. Sentence structures, paragraph structures, use them for effect. Lots of figurative language, similes, onomatopoeias, sibilants, any of your figurative language, there must be 150, if not more of them. Lots of imagery. Structure your text in a specific way. So one of my favorite stories that I always tell my students is the story of Mr. Penumbra from GCSE. It's a brilliant story. Starts out with Clay up on top of the ladder. Then he says, let me tell you how I got here. Then he goes through the whole story of looking for a job and blah, blah, blah. And then he comes back, and then he's sitting on top of the ladder again. So it's got cyclical cycle, it's got flashback. These are the devices. Be careful of cliffhangers. If you're going to write a cliffhanger into your text, your audience must know from the beginning what are the options when you get to that cliffhanger. It can either go this way or that way. Gosh, I can do a whole lesson on this one. Okay, start and end in interesting and satisfying ways. Descriptive writing, guys, descriptive writing and that, I mean, it's the senses. Use the senses. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, okay? It's not a story. Each paragraph must kind of like zoom in or focus on something. So imagine you've got a camera and you've got you know, 7 or 10 paragraphs in a picture. Get that picture in your mind. Take 5 photographs of different things in the picture in your head. Zoom into the details. Read the question. The question will tell you what to focus on. Structural devices, paragraph structures, language devices, imagery. Again, this could take up another whole video all on its own. So I'm going to have to do that. Okay. So very quickly, thank you very much, Annette. 1,000 subscribers. I really, really appreciate it. You guys are absolutely, absolutely awesome. Tomorrow, I'm going to go and do my hair. I promised I'd dye my hair blue. So tomorrow I'll go and cut my hair and dye my hair blue like this. Hopefully it looks as good as this one. I don't know if it will. I'm going to take a video of it, of the stages of it. So if you are a subscriber and you want to see the transformation of my hair, and I'll probably do some of this as well, just for fun. You know what to do, okay? And I will see you guys in the next video if you subscribed with blue hair and a little bit of a blue beard. Rock on.